In my previous life, before my legitimate elder sister entered the palace to become empress, she once leaned down to instruct, Fei, when I'm not around, you must protect yourself. Fei tearfully assented. 5 years later, the empress fell out of favor, was persecuted by villains, and lost her chastity, and that night, she hanged herself to commit suicide. The emperor decreed that the deposed Empress Meng was immoral, and the entire city was forbidden to wear mourning white. I pleaded guilty on behalf of the Meng family, and because of my outstanding beauty, I was brought into the palace by His Majesty, becoming the most favored among the 6 palaces. The day I dragged the emperor to perish with me in the sea of fire, he furiously gripped my neck. Fate treated your Meng family well, because of you. I didn't even bother with that disgraced deposed empress. Fei let the flames engulf my whole body, as if I didn't feel it. Fei when I woke up again. It was the day my legitimate elder sister entered the palace. She stroked my head, then turned, and entered the man-eating palace city. I took off my luxurious clothes and jewelry, then turned and entered the bloody military camp. I'd like to see if, when I lead my troops to surround the imperial city, that dog emperor would still dare to utter the words. Deposed empress. The carriage picking up my legitimate elder sister for the palace stopped outside the courtyard, while the governess and eunuchs filed in, and chests of gold and silver rewards were carried into the mansion one after another. Everyone in the capital recently knew that the Meng family's eldest legitimate daughter had been noticed by His Majesty at the Mid-Autumn Festival banquet, chosen to enter the palace, and would soon be conferred the title of Empress. Since His Majesty's first wife passed away, the Empress's position has been vacant for many years. The Meng family produced an Empress. This is a great fortune, like smoke rising from their ancestral graves. Therefore, the whole mansion was filled with joy, but only a secluded small courtyard in a corner was desolate and quiet, showing no signs of happiness at all. My legitimate elder sister, Meng Xizhang, just like in her previous life, came to my small courtyard before leaving. She stroked my head, earnestly admonishing, Ting, once I enter the palace, I won't be able to look after you anymore. You must protect yourself well. And absolutely not. I looked up at her. She still looked familiar, her face like vermilion, her jade-like complexion, lightly powdered, her eyes like spring water, graceful and charming, dignified and serene. Clearly a well-bred young lady from a noble family. She had been like this since she was little. She raised me to grow up. An elder sister is like a mother. She died in the deep palace. I couldn't see her one last time, nor did I ever hear her call. Ting again. Meng Xizhang paused. I've left something for you. These silver notes are what I got from selling some estates and shop. Hide them well. Don't let anyone discover them. This jade pendant is from my maternal grandfather's family. If you encounter trouble, go find my maternal uncle. He will help you. The Meng mansion is no good place. Ting, if possible, leave early. Being free and she did not say this to me in her previous life. I looked at her again, only to see my sister's smiling eyes, which always seemed to brim with spring-like warmth, as if frozen by something, emanating a chill. Just one glance, and I understood. She was back too. Ting, take care. Meng Xizhang turned and left. Hoofbeats dada. The sound gradually faded away. I also took off my skirts and jewelry, changed into a set of light pants, and, holding the banknotes and jade pendant my sister gave me, put them into the hidden pocket embroidered inside my clothes. I walked out of the room, took one last look at the desolate courtyard, and Fei out with familiar ease, heading purposefully towards the Lin family mansion, that was my elder sister's maternal grandparents' home, and also the current Grand General of Cavalry's mansion. I am Meng Sitting, the most inconspicuous illegitimate daughter of the Meng family, good for nothing except for a pretty face. However, my legitimate elder sister, Meng Xizhang, has been intelligent since childhood, beautiful as a celestial being, proficient in all 4 arts, zither, chess, calligraphy, painting, and her etiquette and demeanor are flawless. Truly, the foremost noble young lady in the capital. My birth mother passed away early when I was young, and I was raised by Madam. Madam is from the Lin family, a typical fierce daughter of a military family. She had been on the battlefield and had charged on horseback, but now she can only sit in the mansion, spending her days with her husband and educating her child. She only has one daughter, my legitimate elder sister, and because of her cold personality, she isn't favored. Occasionally staring blankly at her unsheathed sword, she never practiced sword fighting or read military strategies behind our backs. But Madam had old ailments, and in the 4th year after I arrived, she passed away from illness. My legitimate elder sister was intelligent, skilled in military strategy and political theory, what the brothers at home could never learn. She understood instantly, and the essays she wrote, no one could find a single flaw in them. As for me, I was naturally active. Madam once felt my bones. She praised my exceptional talent, so I persevered and practiced martial arts with Madam every day. Before Madam passed away, she left me several books on military strategy and martial arts. I couldn't understand them, but my legitimate elder sister was willing to explain them to me in detail. I studied for many years. My martial arts improved, and entering and leaving the Hmong manor was as easy as flipping a hand, often unnoticed by anyone. It is a pity we are women. These things that were inconvenient to display before others, we could only share with each other. My legitimate elder sister and I played chess. She always won by 3 pieces. I whined to start over, taking out all the snacks and pastries I would then chuckle and share with her what I had seen and heard that day. She saw the world through my eyes, and I would lie on her lap, listening to her analyze the world's situation. In those years she was in the palace, I originally thought that as long as I protected the Hmong family obediently and didn't cause her trouble, she would be safe and sound. The night my legitimate elder sister hanged herself, I suddenly woke up, walking barefoot in the courtyard, completely unaware that it was raining. I was anxious and restless, but didn't know why. Rumors spread within the capital that she was unchaste and had an affair with a guard. The emperor was furious, deposed my sister from her position as empress, forbade the entire city from wearing white mourning, and did not allow her to enter the imperial mausoleum. It was our father, Minister Hmong, the head of the Hmong family, who went to plead guilty, even upholding righteousness at the expense of family, by expelling my sister from the family tree. Only then did His Majesty's anger subside. She was no longer a Hmong family daughter, nor was she Empress Hmong. She became a nameless, homeless, solitary spirit. On the 7th day after her death, the entire city was filled with singing and dancing, peaceful and prosperous. Inside the mansion, lanterns and colorful streamers were hung, and not a single person welcomed her soul back. Later, I was sent into the palace by Minister Meng. The world even forgot that concubine Ru, who now holds the highest favor in the 6 palaces, also had an older sister, who was once the renowned Empress Meng of the capital. In this world besides me, who else would remember her? Since the Meng family couldn't protect her, then I would protect her. I sat in the main hall of the Lin residence. I heard a she mention you, the man in the main seat said, his voice like a great bell, and his figure tall and imposing. You're the child she carried over, aren't you? He was the current Grand General of Cavalry, Lin Yuanshan, and also my sister's maternal grandfather. I nodded in affirmation. After the polite greetings, the man in green robes beside the main seat directly asked me, "You've come to us with Sikwang's jade pendant. Do you need my help with something?" He was my sister's younger maternal uncle, the current General Jenan, Lin Shao. When my sister died, Lin Shao was with General Lin on an expedition. Upon suddenly hearing the bad news, he was ambushed and died on the battlefield. Not only that, there was a spy in the military camp, who gave General Lin incorrect intelligence. The Lin family army was completely annihilated because of this, their bodies wrapped in horsehide, which made people lament. Later, I entered the palace, and only then did I realize that this was orchestrated by the one above, the purpose being to reclaim the Lin family's military power. I looked at him. I want to join the military camp. What did you say? I want to join the military camp, I repeated. I want the general to provide me with an identity and lend me a hand when I need it in the future. He looked at me as if I were a monster. Do you know that this is a great crime of deceiving the emperor? The Lin family is powerful, and if we want to preserve ourselves, it is better to retreat while still strong. At this time, we need someone to carry on what the Lin family has passed down. I seemed oblivious and said seriously, I can do it. If I can't, the Lin family can totally disassociate themselves from me. Hearing this, the other Lin family members' faces turned pale with anger. Girl, the Grand General of Cavalry, however, wasn't angry. He just waved his hand and asked me, I ask you, what do you want? I want to go to the battlefield and inherit my lady's last wish. I thought for a moment and said, my martial arts and military strategies were all taught by my lady. She didn't want me to be confined to the inner chambers my whole life. The Grand General shook his head, lying. It was indeed a lie. My lady never said what she wanted to do, nor did she say what path she hoped I would take in the future. Everything was my own guess. I was silent for a while. I want to save someone. I want to save someone. Going through mountains of knives and seas of fire doesn't matter. Before you came, I received a letter from Chionga, and what she said was exactly the same as you, hoping the Lin family would retreat gracefully. General Lin stood up. I'm already this old. It is not that I'm greedy for power. It is just that the Ho-Rong haven't been pacified, and deep down I'm a bit unwilling. Since you've given a reason, and Chionga even gave you her jade pendant, this old man will believe you. This child. This one time. It is just that my daughter, Lin Shijun, Lin Changshan's daughter, also went to battle and killed enemies before she got married, a fierce general who could fight 10 alone. The battlefield is dangerous. I don't want a young girl like you to lose your life. You said your martial arts were taught by her. So prove it to me. Lin Xiao. He called Lin Xiao. Call Sanlang over. Lin Xiao frowned. Father, every young man in my Lin family is brave and skilled in battle. Sanlang is my grandson, of your generation, raised by my own hands, and has campaigned with me for a year. General Lin said casually, last for the time it takes an incense stick to burn, and I will personally send you into the camp. Hearing this, everyone in the Lin family was shocked. And Lin Xiao was even more anxious. Father, she is just a young girl. Perhaps it is just a momentary impulse now. General Lin ignored. I didn't avoid or give way. Yes, I will definitely do my best. In the past, I had heard the name Lin Jinya, the Lin family's Sanlang. It is said that he was exceptionally brilliant, the best archer and rider among the young men in the capital. Last year, he accompanied his grandfather on a campaign, rode alone into the enemy camp, and returned with the enemy general's head, achieving great military feats. Now he stands before me, his sword undrawn, chilling killing intent already looming. I know, that is the fierce spirit forged from battles on the battlefield. He is a warrior who has truly shed blood. Ingenuous eyes were like cold stars. Please, I performed a bow and drew my sword. On the battlefield, there is inherently no distinction between men and women. Only by holding the sword firmly in one's hand can one protect the people they hold dear. In countless nights after my sister's death, I suffered terribly, hating my own helplessness. Even though I could draw the sword in my hand, I could only don flowing sleeves and dance gracefully. Even though I hated the emperor so much I gritted my teeth. Every night I would force a charming smile and ingratiate myself. Even though I was clearly a dull and simple person, I learned to be servile and flattering, becoming a hypocrite. I planned countless ways to assassinate him, practicing my sword every night for it. There were no weapons allowed in the palace, so I used a bamboo branch as a sword, which could cleave the air and pierce 3 inches into wood. But no matter how much I did, my sister would not come back. I was suffocated, and occasionally wondered what I would do after killing him. I couldn't think of anything. Even after I knew she was back, I didn't dare to acknowledge her. I was afraid she'd ask how I'd been, if I'd taken care of myself, why I had come back like her. I dared not look into her eyes, dared not say I had been consumed by fire, dared not tell her that a ting was long beyond recognition. I just understood clearly that the emperor was incompetent, and the people were suffering, so a new emperor should be established. My elder sister cares about the world, has a compassionate heart, and also possesses extraordinary talents. The policies she wrote are stronger than those good-for-nothings. And the military strategies she taught the Lin family made the Lin family invincible. Why can't she be empress? I want to be her hawk and hound, to become her sharpest sword, her fiercest tiger. Everything I encounter before my eyes is my obstacle. What I want to do allows for no obstacles. Cold light flashed sharply. Weapons clashed, and in Lin Jinyue's suddenly widened pupils, my borrowed wooden sword had already shaved off a wisp of hair from his temple. The entire hall was silent. I lowered my eyes. Thank you for your guidance. Everyone was too slow to react, staring blankly at the defeated Lin Jinyue and me, who had sheathed my sword. Applause rang out in the courtyard. Good! Good! General Lin clapped his hands, repeating the word good 3 times. From today on, you are the commoner youth I met by chance. You were enlightened by me due to your natural unusual strength, and now you are introduced by me into the army. Your name is Sai Jun. He looked at me, and in a daze, I spoke that name. Madam's name was Lin Shijun, and the names of my legitimate elder sister, Sikyang, and myself, sitting, were both given by her. She would occasionally sit by the window, her whole being filled with desolation. Sikyang sitting, she sighed to us. If you have the chance in the future, go see the mountains and rivers. The world is vast. Go see anything you find beautiful. Never let your heart be fixated on one person. My legitimate elder sister and I were young, so we only half understood, but from that just as after her death, she was forever buried in my and my legitimate elder sister's hearts. Missing Chuang, missing Ting, and missing Jun too. Hearing this name, General Lin froze. Immediately, his lips trembled, and an 8-foot-tall man's eyes actually welled up a little. He turned his face away, as if to hide it. The wind in the capital is sweet, and it is stinging my eyes. But no one in the Lin family called him out, because the eyes of those elders were all red, especially Lin Shao. His fists were tightly clenched, and after a long pause, he dejectedly loosened them. He was the younger brother Madame spoke of as protecting her the most, and also the maternal uncle my legitimate elder sister spoke of as loving her the most. I heard that Madame's marriage was decreed by the emperor, and imperial orders were hard to defy. From then on, the female general, who once galloped across battlefields, became a reclusive woman of the inner chambers. The Lin family exhausted all their military merits, yet couldn't rescue her from that quagmire, only watching helplessly as she withered away. I bowed. Your humble subordinate, Fen greets the general. If you want to save someone, then fight for it yourself. General Lin patted my shoulder, his voice barely audible. I understood what he meant. He couldn't save Lin X Fei J Fein, so he hoped I would save M Fei Ki. I looked up, my gaze calm. The Lin family, with their loyal bones, were thus discarded after use and left to be slaughtered. But I've long wanted to assassinate the emperor and kill my father. I am truly a disloyal, unfilial, and unjust person. Am I crazy? Maybe I went crazy a long time ago. Although the Jing dynasty has a vast territory, it faces the Hu Rong in the north, The southwestern region is plagued by poisonous miasma and infested with snakes and rats, coupled with its coastal and rainy climate, and those bandits are skilled in water combat. General Lin only managed to quell the water chaos after years of guarding. The Hurong Kingdom in the northwest is different. However, the nomadic tribes of the Great Desert are all brave and good at fighting. The Hurong Kingdom can be called a nation of soldiers, where even 3-year-olds can ride horses and fight wolves. In recent years, the two countries have kept to themselves, but the Hurong Kingdom has excellent troops, and there have been frequent frictions on both sides of the border, clearly indicating the other party is restless. But His Majesty clearly doesn't want to fight, or rather, he doesn't want Lin Yuanshan to fight the Hurong anymore. Lin Yuanshan already had outstanding military achievements and was extremely beloved. If he were to achieve more military merits, his popular prestige would rise another notch, coupled with his command of the Tiger Tally. What the emperor fears most is a subordinate's achievements, overshadowing his lord's. It is just that, in his previous life, Lin Yuanshan ultimately chose to pacify the Hurong for the sake of the common people, but he was also killed by the chess pieces planted by His Majesty in the Lin family army, burying his reputation and achievements in the Yellow Earth. This life is different. After repeated persuasion from the Lin family and written instructions from his eldest sister, General Lin chose to retire and resign. He returned the military tally, and the emperor, as we expected, granted his resignation. But to avoid disheartening the military generals, he gave General Lin's Tiger Tally to Lin Shao, ordering him to go to war in his father's stead. And I cut off all my long hair, bound my chest, covered my face, and formally entered the military camp, becoming a private. General Lin personally escorted me into the military camp, but didn't give me any special treatment. I knew clearly in my heart that this was to prevent my identity from attracting attention. Before leaving, I was on horseback, looking back at this majestic capital one last time. After this parting, I don't know when I'll be able to see it again. I turned my head, coming, a lone smoke in the vast desert, a long river reflecting the setting sun. The Great Desert in the northwest looked desolate and uninhabited, and the border city was heavily guarded. After marching for several months, we finally reached our Zhujadi. Lin Shao began to organize military training. Those new recruit trainings were often grueling, but I completed them with ease, consistently coming in first. New recruits were full of respect for the veterans, bowing and scraping. But I was neither humble nor arrogant, treating everyone equally. Coupled with my quiet nature and tendency to go my own way, I quickly ran into trouble. "Hey kid!" After training ended, as I was bandaging my scraped knee, a veteran clapped me on the shoulder. "I heard General Lin personally escorted you into the camp. You seem like a capable person." More and more curious glances came my way. Of course, there was also rivalry in the military camp. And with soldiers being martial and fond of fighting, these sparring matches were not uncommon. Of course you can refuse. It is just that in a place like this, being defeated before even fighting will undoubtedly. I won't refuse. I'm not like my sister. I'm not good at socializing, but I have my own way. I wrapped the bandage around my wrist, circle by circle, looked up and said, "Is there anyone else who wants to spar with me?" The crowd gasped, and the old soldier in front of me's "You're truly arrogant beyond measure," he sneered after a moment. "It seems I'll have to show you the rules of the barracks." In this match, I didn't use a sword. I only used my fists. When the burly man in front of me was brutally thrown to the ground, kicking up dust, I grabbed his neck, and facing his terrified gaze, slowly withdrew my hand. I stood up, loosened my wrist, and said, "Next!" Bang! Next! Thump! After the last old soldier who came to challenge me was knocked down, the people around me looked at me as if I were a monster. That look contained no negativity, only astonishment. The old soldier, who was smashed to the ground with a bruised and swollen face, however, burst out laughing. Refreshing, refreshing? You kid, you look frail and weak, but you're quite a fighter. No wonder the general values you so much, and didn't assign you a position. He probably saw that you'd fight your way up eventually, right? So awesome. How did you train? Share it with us. It seems our camp will have another secret weapon from now on. My wife brought me some jerky. I hadn't even brought myself to eat it yet. Here, have 2 pieces. I was completely surrounded by them, and showed a smile. Okay, this is how this place is. If you don't submit, just beat them into submission. Not far away, a man clad in armor quietly watched this scene. Is this the person you want to recommend to me? Lin Xiao smiled. Pretty good, huh? Is a good prospect. The man stared intently at that figure. Very similar. He didn't say who, but they all knew perfectly well what he was talking about. Lin Xiao was silent for a few seconds, then patted his shoulder. Ying Qi, this child is entrusted to you. We can all rest assured. She cannot be associated with the Lin family. At least not now. I understand. He turned and left. His cloak behind him flapped in the wind, on the inner side of which was embroidered a character, worn to the point of being illegible. It looked like Yin. Although the days in the military camp were tough, they were extremely free. The Hurong and Jing Kao still had constant skirmishes, but no major conflicts, mostly harassment and looting. After I led the charge and wiped out several Hurong squads, I was repeatedly rewarded, and could already lead a small squad independently, becoming the youngest centurion in the camp. As summer began, the Jianghuai region had incessant heavy rains, but here in the Great Desert, it was still sunny with little rain. Occasionally, I would hear news from the capital. It is said that the current empress is benevolent, widely opening charitable halls and academies, and also providing porridge for disaster-stricken areas. She voluntarily fasted, which led to a significant reduction in imperial palace expenses, earning her praise from all under heaven. Many poets even wrote poems for her, extolling her benevolent heart. Even the emperor issued some reliable policies. As soon as I heard them, I felt something was off. It felt more like my elder sister's doing. I don't know how my elder sister managed it, to actually make the emperor willing to listen to her. But I wasn't surprised. My elder sister has always been intelligent and kind. Given another chance, she would only do more, this time without me. For Sichuan has written to me again, Fei, when no one else was around. Lin Xiao and I, by tacit agreement, called her by her name instead of Empress. Fei Wei, won't you tell her you came here? Fei sat on a rock, sharpening my sword, without lifting my head. Fei, she don't want her to worry about me. Fei Lin Xiao snorted with a chuckle. Fei, you girl, have you ever considered if something happened to you, how would we explain it to her? Fei, my hand, sharpening the sword, paused. I looked up. Fei, you can just say, I went traveling far and wide. I will. Fei Lin Xiao. Fei Lin Xiao almost choked. Fei, he was just joking with you, and you actually started considering it. Fei, I stood up, sheathed my sword. Fei, he won't die. Fei, I don't know who your personality is like. Lin Xiao was stunned for a moment. A child in their teens, so serious and rigid, never a smile. Sichuan is gentle and well-behaved. Your mother also loved to laugh and joke around. I gave him a strange look. When did Madam love to laugh and joke around? The Madam I remembered was stern and unsmiling, aloof and distant. Lin Xiao was slightly taken aback. The smile on his face faded little by little. She loved to wear red clothes, and she was a skilled swimmer, able to dive into the sea to kill enemies. Every time the Japanese pirates saw her, they were scared shitless, calling her the assassin like fire. He said with a sigh, I'll never forget. Back then we were in the southwest. After she dived into the sea, she emerged from the surface and smiled brightly at me. With a shake, the water droplets formed a rainbow above her head. I told the people around me, my elder sister is like a goddess. I listened intently, but no matter what, I couldn't connect this vibrant, spirited young woman with the madam, who always wore blue. But I could imagine what that scene was like. She had an excellent warhorse, its 4 hooves like snow. Only she was allowed to ride it. Nobody else could tame it. Lin Xiao's gaze was dazed. Before she returned to the capital, she released that horse. Later, that horse would always return to our stationed area. Not seeing her, it would circle once and then leave. So time passes so quickly. I haven't seen her in a very, very long time. We looked at each other in silence. For a long time, he turned around. There is a secret report from the army. The HFA want to seize this opportunity to raid this batch of provisions. Later, we'll discuss important matters together in the general's tent. You should also come participate. I was a little surprised. Is this kind of military secret something even a centurion like me can hear? But Lin Xiao quickly gave me an answer. It has nothing to do with me. It is Ying. His tone was familiar. He gave a quick instruction and then left, but I was lost in thought. Ying Qi is a commandant who has been stationed at the border all year round. Unlike Lin Xiao, he has a taciturn personality, commanding respect without needing to show anger. But my position was promoted by him. A few days ago, when our small team went out on patrol, we independently wiped out a group of HFA bandits. Although he didn't say anything, he bestowed many things upon me. Normally, I haven't seen Lin Xiao and Yingqi having any interactions, and even the soldiers led by both sides occasionally had conflicts. Now it seems, could it be that it is all just for show to outsiders? Could it be for the emperor? Thinking of this, I became happy again. It seems that Ying Qi, who appears outwardly loyal, is not without ulterior motives. It is even better if he has ulterior motives. My legitimate elder sister said that no matter when, people's hearts are the biggest variable. I just don't know, what is Ying Qi's heart? I soon knew the answer. Inside the general's tent, after Ying Qi and Lin Xiao finished assigning tactics, he suddenly pointed to a small red dot on the map. Lin Xiao said gravely, "This time Hu Rong has assembled 16 divisions of elite troops. Their rear must be weakly defended, and this place is their most important granary." Scouts reported that in the past few days, a continuous stream of supplies has been transported to this location. A perilous maneuver, Ying Qi said succinctly. We intend to send an elite squad for a night raid. Inside the tent, there was a buzz of discussion. It is a good idea, but it is indeed dangerous. Just afraid the enemy might set an ambush. Those barbarians steal our things every day. It is time to pay them back. It is just that the right person is hard to choose. Ying Qi looked at me. He was already past his 30s, yet he had a pair of exceptionally deep and weathered eyes, as if all their vitality and life force had been worn away by the desert wind and sand. I suddenly understood the meaning of Ying Qi wanting me to participate. This was indeed a perilous maneuver, and also an opportunity that was hard to come by. What was his relationship with Lin Xiao, that he was willing to promote me like this? I thought to myself, yet smiled. The fire in the tent burned fiercely. I knelt on one knee, my voice clear. This humble general is willing to resolve your worries. My lord. Various gazes in the camp turned to me, but I only heard Ying Qi say, good. The verdict was sealed. That night, I pulled back the curtain and walked out of the camp tent, but paused slightly. I saw Ying Qi grabbing a handful of soybeans to feed a horse. That horse didn't look like a warhorse. It had no saddle nor bridle. Magnificent and awe-inspiring, its 4 hooves trod on snow, exuding a wild, powerful beauty. I unexpectedly recalled Lin Xiao's words. He said Madame had once released her own precious steed. I silently returned to camp. The next day, I asked Lin Xiao about this matter. But he paused, surprised, then burst out laughing. That horse, of course, couldn't be the same one, but they should be mother and child. A few years ago, it indeed brought a sick foal back to the camp, And later, Ying Qi gradually raised the foal. Not training it, just feeding it for fun. I shouldn't have asked, but remembering what Madam said, I always felt I had already found the answer. Lin Xiao's smile indeed faded. Then he quirked the corner of his mouth. His expression hard to tell if it was bitter or relieved. Originally, I didn't want to tell you. But since I've already handed you over to Yingqi, it is no harm to tell you. Back then, the memento Yingqi's mother left for him accidentally fell into. Yingqi searched for a long time but couldn't find it, so he gave up. She went into the sea and searched for many days. We all thought she was playing, but unexpectedly, she was preoccupied with this matter. Later, she finally retrieved that jade pendant and held it up, smiling at him. It was that time I said Big Sister was like a goddess, and Ying Qi standing beside me hummed in agreement. The Hurong indeed had a trick up their sleeve. There was a whole tribe of cavalry ambushing there, but I had already anticipated it, and calmly lay prone by the nearby populous Euphratica forest to observe. I went alone to the edge of the camp, scouted their deployment, and even buried quite a few fire oil bottles. I waited patiently for half the night, and when they were at their most exhausted, I waved my hand, and the squad silently drew their bows. Swish, 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 flames reflected in my eyes, then quickly spread. A whistle suddenly blared. I reined in my horse and led the way, charging into the place already billowing with thick smoke. That night, the sounds of fighting, screams, and the crackling of flames burning were endless. Sitting on horseback, I drew my bow and shot arrows. Not even blinking, one arrow piercing the air. The next day, with my face covered in bloodstains, I led a group of exhausted, but astonishingly bright-eyed soldiers, dragging prisoners and provisions, back to the camp. No one dared to look at me, yet I calmly put down what I held in my hands. Thump. That was the head of the enemy leader stationed there. I calmly said, "Fortunately, I did not fail my mission." A slight smile appeared on Yingqi's usually stern face. "Very good, you worked hard." From that day on, the raiding squad I led was given the name Asura by the Huns. Everyone knew that the Asura army was elusive and invincible, like a sharp dagger on the battlefield, ready to stab into the heart at any moment. The name Sijun resounded throughout Mobe, and even reached the capital. I repeatedly achieved incredible feats. My tactics were devious, and my methods ruthless. Each time I could directly take the head of the opposing general, making most of the Hurong tribesmen tremble with fear at my name. It was even said I could stop infants from crying at night. It was also rumored that I had an awful personality, completely unyielding. Aside from showing some respect to my superior Ying Qi, who recognized my talent, I often clashed with General Lin Xiao and could be described as a lone wolf. As soon as this news spread, coupled with the Imperial Astronomer's Office in the capital, inexplicably observing the stars at night, and identifying a celestial phenomenon of a born general star, blessing Jingchao, the Emperor's rewards almost impatiently arrived in the desert. I knew what he meant. He merely wanted me to seize power from the Lin family army, and use me to keep Lin Xiao in check. All of this was something I had anticipated and intentionally orchestrated. But I just didn't expect it to go this smoothly. Imperial Astronomer's Office. Born General. I stood beneath the desert sky, gazing afar in the direction of the Imperial City. I don't believe in fate, or good luck. And I'm certainly not some so-called general star. Such things have never been my lot. But I believe Meng Siquang. All the good fortune in my life has been given to me by Madam and eldest sister. Did she guess? She must have guessed, right? She is such a smart person. Then how much did she guess? Seeing me suddenly disguise myself as a man and enter the army camp, seeing someone named Si Jun suddenly rise to prominence, seeing everything being different from the previous life. The vast desert is short on water, and is dry year-round. Fortunately, there is a river by the camp, otherwise, even just wanting to wash up would be very troublesome. I stared blankly at myself in the water. My once fair skin had long since turned wheat-colored, due to the wind and sun. I've grown taller and become sturdier. More importantly, I had many more scars on my body. The deepest one was on my abdomen, which almost took my life, but I couldn't collapse, so I endured the high fever, gritting my teeth, and bearing the pain of bone-cutting treatment. And the next day, I nonchalantly pulled back the curtain, drawing cheers from the entire tent. On the battlefield, blades and swords are merciless. Even if my martial arts were unmatched, I couldn't guarantee my sleeves would always remain dust-free. The current Sijun no longer bore any resemblance to Meng sitting. So if she sees me again, would she still recognize me? I have no way of knowing. Lin Xiao came to find me, holding a letter in his hand. "This is from your eldest sister," he said. "She asks about your situation from time to time." This time, father probably couldn't keep it a secret anymore. Plus, whatever the Meng family said, she figured it out. Blessed General's star. His Majesty is getting more and more muddled. With no one around, Lin Xiao said these treasonous words without ceremony. "Now, there is a flood in Jiangnan. The dams have largely collapsed. Refugees are continuously pouring into the capital. The Hurong are stirring again. It is already a time of internal strife and external threats. Yet he insists on building a stargazing terrace for his newly recruited concubine. What is her name? Zhao Fei? Who knows how much silver it will cost? I heard that several ministers from the Ministry of Works and Ministry of Revenue advised against it. He got angry and directly demoted them, and had them taken out for a flogging. Now everyone in the capital fears for themselves. No one knows who will be the next to die. I thought for a moment, is eldest sister still giving out porridge? Of course she is. She also opened her personal treasury to raise relief grain for the Jiangnan floods. People in that entire area have erected shrines to her. Then I smiled. In my previous life, there was no such thing as Zhao Fei, or the stargazing terrace. Now, public anger is boiling. The emperor's tyranny and unreasonableness form a sharp contrast with the empress's benevolence and magnanimity. Eldest sister is still eldest sister, smarter than before, and with a touch more ruthlessness. But there is nothing wrong with that. His Majesty won't stop there, I said. The more people try to stop him, the more he'll want to build this stargazing terrace. And not just build it, but build it lavishly. Increase income and reduce expenditure. Since we can't reduce expenditure, then we must increase income. Just wait. This fire will soon burn its way to us. I curled my lips, feeling quite at ease. Lin Xiao frowned, and quickly realized. You mean he'll embezzle military pay and supplies? It is wartime. Anything can be lacking, but soldiers' provisions cannot be. Those in power couldn't possibly not understand this. His expression grew serious. He shouldn't be that stupid. Our emperor, he loves to use both benevolence and might. I scoffed. Even if he didn't think this way at first, those who opposed him building the plucking terrace, will all push him. He will feel that all land under heaven belongs to the king. He will feel that it is the soldier's duty to die for the country. He will feel that the border regions are naturally harsh and cold, so what does it matter if they just eat a little less and wear a little less? Zhao Zhao, the brilliance of the sun and moon. If I'm not mistaken, this concubine Zhao is probably also some lucky star, or noble fate decreed by the Imperial Observatory, and likely a trap set by my elder sister. Rebellion is indeed a capital crime, but people are forced into it. When people are starving, cold, and constantly in danger of losing their lives, it is easy for them to act impulsively. And winter is approaching. She understood my meaning. Planting a seed. Lin Xiao's face completely darkened. It is truly disgusting beyond belief. Fei, but my elder sister won't disregard the lives of the soldiers, I said with certainty. She will definitely try every means to secretly subsidize them. At that time, it is up to us. This matter cannot be publicized, but the soldiers in the military camp must guess it. Fei, an emperor, who embezzles military pay, greedy and selfish. An empress with a benevolent heart, compassionate towards the world, the common ruler of the world, where the people's hearts lie. She is vying for the people's support. I just have to add this batch of grain and fodder shipped from the capital. The amount was cut in half. The clothes were also just a thin layer. That little bit of cotton couldn't keep anyone warm at all. In less than half a day, the entire military camp knew this news. In the middle of the night, the brothers under my command gathered around the fire, indignantly saying, "How can this make any sense? Those nobles in the capital are eating and living well, while we might even freeze to death here." These words were already considered insubordination, but I only frowned and didn't stop them. Once they finished complaining, I stood up. "All right, I haven't touched the rewards His Majesty gave me yet. I'll distribute all of it to you tomorrow, and that fat sheep too, butcher it for the troops." They looked at each other. "My lord, this," I waved my hand. "It doesn't matter if they don't take us seriously. I won't let my brothers suffer with me." As soon as these words were spoken, even the normally rough men got red eyes. The winter winds of the northern desert were biting, cutting at the face like a knife. With such harsh conditions and military supplies halved, the atmosphere in the camp grew increasingly silent. The soldiers kept their heads down and didn't speak, but the whispers behind their backs grew more frequent. "Aren't they just sending us to our deaths? Now we're completely relying on Lord Sai's subsidies. General Lin and Commander Ying have already distributed all their own things. How much longer can it last? Only a few lords actually see us." I heard the emperor also wants to build the star-picking platform. The money to build it would be enough for us to eat and wear for several years. Doesn't treat us as people. Fortunately, not long after, cart after cart of supplies were silently transported in under the cover of night. There was no imperial decree, so it was clearly not sent by the emperor. So some soldiers intercepted the people delivering the grain, relentlessly demanding to know what was going on. It is said that the person stammered for a long time, refusing to tell the truth, until some soldiers snatched their carrier pigeon and found out that this batch of grain and clothes was privately organized and donated by the empress and the noble ladies of the capital. They were still finding ways to raise more, and asked those who knew not to spread the word. Indeed, this matter was not made public, but it was also true that everyone in the entire military camp knew about it. When the soldiers thought of the empress, they all said, "Isn't she a bodhisattva? The empress is truly benevolent." I heard the empress also helped out with the flood disaster in Jiangnan this time. When I go back, I'll have my family set up a shrine for her too. Although conditions had improved, I still made the soldiers pretend to be hungry and cold. The Huzheng also knew that the Jing dynasty emperor was withholding military pay, yet they remained dormant, likely planning a major move soon. Since that was the case, it was better to turn their scheme against them and let them think we were indeed weak and exhausted. In December, heavy snow fell in the desert. I stepped into the camp tent and saw Yingqi standing with his hands behind his back, staring blankly at a cloak hanging on the wall. That cloak was very old. Yingqi always wore it when he went on campaigns, and I had never seen him change it. "Lord Ying," I saluted. "Did you call me?" He waved his hand. "The desert is entering the snow season. The Hurong won't let this opportunity slip by. They will definitely launch a full-scale attack. At that time, you'll guard the main camp in my stead. I will go with the army to battle." I froze, a little hesitant. Yingqi had already turned his head. "It would certainly be good if we win this time, but even if I lose and die on the battlefield, I will still fiercely tear a piece of flesh from the Hurong, leaving them severely weakened. You know better than I do what methods to use against a retreating Hurong army. The rest I'll leave to you. You can do it, right?" I pursed my lips and remained silent. This battle, of course, It is good if we win. But if we lose, Ying Qi would be essentially pushing all the credit onto me, or perhaps he wants me to take over his position, to legitimately take over the Ying family army. But why? I know what your purpose is for coming here. Ying Qi said, you want to enthrone the Empress. As my pupils suddenly widened. You haven't even told Lin Xiao about this, have you? The tall man's expression remained calm. Don't look at me like that. I'm not a talkative person. I didn't tell him. I didn't know what to say. Thank you. No need to be so polite, Ying Qi said. I will help you. I had long expected him to help me, but I couldn't figure out why. Your sword skill is very similar to your mother's. His expression was calm. 10 years ago, I already wanted to lead troops to storm the Golden Imperial Hall. You are braver than I am. The Ying family has been loyal for generations, guarding the South China Sea for many years. Not to mention he carries the lives of everyone in the Ying family on his shoulders. How can he be so Ying Qi had never been self-willed in his entire life before leaving. He asked me, what are your and your sister's names, respectively? Didn't he know? I was a little confused, but still said, my sister is Meng Siquang, and I am Meng Sitting. He remembered that day as the sun set in the west. They sat side by side on the rocks by the sea. Lin Shijun dangled her legs. Ying Qi, after we pacify these Woku later, what do you want to do? He asked. Do you like the sea? I do, Lin Shijun said with a smile. The capital is so dry. This place is still better. I've already told Dad. How about I guard this place for him, watching the tides ebb and flow every day? Ying Qi said, then I'll be with you. He remembered Lin Shijun in her flowing red robes. He remembered her kneeling to receive the imperial decree. He remembered her distant glance at him before her departure. The island they guarded was anciently called Guangdao. She recited that poem, aromatic angelica on the banks, orchids by the sandbars, lush and green, saying that where there is water, everything grows well. Would she miss it? She would, wouldn't she? She left the world early, Siquang sitting, but not missing Jianyu Feilord. How much she must have longed for freedom in her life. Yet she was imprisoned in the capital, exhausted physically and mentally, and passed away from illness before she was 30. They said she was dignified and aloof, but she was clearly such a bright and radiant person. She was clearly healthy and strong, proudly saying she would live to 80 years old. But how did she weaken little by little? A female general who could run and jump like her. How did she end up bedridden for so long and die of grief? She clearly loved to wear red clothes, but Lin Xiao said she never wore red. She must have been in pain then, right? Ying Qi bent down, feeling his heart, numb for 20 years, throbbing with pain once more. Once again, that high and mighty emperor used the same methods as back then, just like he ruined her. To ruin her 2 daughters, the emperor clearly intended to divide the Lin family's power. If the Ying family was sensible, they should distance themselves from the Lin family. Even if he wanted to defy the imperial decree and take her away, they both had to consider the Lin family and Ying family behind them. So he compromised. He watched helplessly as Lin Shijun took off her red dress and armor. So she also compromised, silently tying her cloak onto his shoulder, and turned to leave. From then on, he was trapped in this corner of the cloak, never able to leave. The enemy forces waved their flags and shouted. Ying Qi stood where snow drifted. Snowflakes fell on his head, the corners of his eyes, his brow, and into the jade pendant in his palm. Mother, Ying Qi has never been willful in his life, he murmured. That day, he saw the girl named Si Jun, and every move and stance she made was exactly like hers. Lin Xiao said, this child was raised by my sister. So it was the child of an old acquaintance, he thought. She stirred up those memories. So this one time, he wanted to live for himself. Amidst the sounds of fighting, Ying Qi drew his sword. Fresh blood splattered on his cheeks, but he was completely oblivious. He just suddenly remembered that year, Lin Shijun emerged from the water, holding his jade pendant in her hand, a brilliant rainbow above her head, making her eyes curve into smiles. Like a celestial fairy, she called out to him, Ying-Chi! 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 You said you'd stay with me. You can't break your promise. Ying-Chi! Ying-Chi! I suspect Takshu is in love. Look, it always wants to run outside these past few days. Ying-Chi! Why haven't you taken me back to Guangdao yet? Ying-Chi, after I leave, you must live happily. Remember to see the sea more for me. But I never saw the sea again. He suddenly felt unbearable heartache, almost unable to breathe. I'm sorry. Clang, the broken sword fell to the ground. The figure of the older to buy osmanthus and carry wine together. It is ultimately not like the youthful wanderings. Ying-Chi's belongings were sent back. A damaged jade pendant, a tattered cloak. One corner of the cloak had an illegible character embroidered on it. It looked like Yin, but I knew it was the character Jin. Junan. I watched it silently for a while, then stood up. Countless soldiers stood silently before me, a dense mass, their hawk-like eyes flickering with rage and sorrow. I raised the tiger tally. All generals, heed my order. Tonight, launch a full-scale attack. Slaughter the Hurong, to avenge Lord Ying. Yes, actually, I knew long ago that Ying-Chi would die. Just like that time I dragged the emperor to his demise in the fire. He set out to battle with a resolve to die. I wanted to persuade him, but I thought about it and realized no one could persuade him. How could I not see that he couldn't go on living? In this life, he waited for me, so what about his previous life? I stopped thinking. I promised Ying-Chi not to let anyone repeat the same mistakes again, and to rescue my legitimate elder sister. He paved the way for me with his blood. I cannot let all his efforts be in vain. The night was deep. The army I led charged into the Hurong's encampment. Enemy attack. Sharp screams pierced the night sky. But it was already too late. In this battle, the Jing dynasty achieved a great victory. Rumors in the capital said that the young general who appeared out of nowhere was like a god slaughtering his way into the Hurong camp and slitting the enemy leader's throat with a single sword. The Hurong were utterly defeated, raised white flags in surrender, and sent envoys to seek peace. The conquering general returned in triumph. Winter had passed, spring had arrived. Lin Xiao and I, escorting the Hurong's envoy and official documents of surrender, made a grand return to the capital. Unfortunately, however, along the way, we encountered many displaced people and bandits, all of whom were homeless due to disasters. We then quelled these rebellions, and thus our return journey was slowed down significantly. Sijun's reputation among the common people grew larger and larger, and his prestige grew higher and higher. His Majesty seemed very displeased by this, but Lin Xiao only offered a lukewarm remark. When a general is outside, military orders are not always strictly followed. This choked up the emperor to no end. But he couldn't say anything either after all. We had just won a victory, and were still meritorious officials. At the same time, we received a secret report from the capital. Her Majesty, the Empress, is pregnant, and chaos has erupted in the palace. I folded the letter paper and threw it into the candle flame, deep in thought. Currently, the Crown Prince has not been decided, and His Majesty does not have many heirs. If my legitimate older sister gives birth to this child, it will inevitably bring instability to the court. But my sister hates the Emperor so much. Would she really become pregnant with his child, and at such a coincidental timing? Sure enough, I received her letter. Her tone was still as usual, asking how I had been doing recently, if I had paid attention to my food and clothing, and only at the end did she mention the child. She said, "The child will be born at the most opportune moment." Then I understood. After quelling the rebellions in various places, our group finally returned along the way into the capital. The common people cheered. I rode on a tall warhorse, and every now and then silk flowers were thrown at me. I turned my head, and saw they were all young girls and women, who smiled at me when they saw me looking, some even blushing. Lin Shao teased, a young general star with boundless. I remained unmoved. My heart and eyes were solely on tonight's imperial banquet. The imperial banquet was to reward us soldiers. This battle lasted too long, with my legitimate sister's help, and the Imperial Bureau of Astronomy praising me now and then. My official rank could be said to have risen steadily. Now I have become the Jing dynasty's youngest cavalry general. What is more, because the Lin family fabricated my identity, I had a clean background, and was from a humble family. His Majesty was extremely satisfied with me. Not only did he grant me a general's residence, but rewards were also sent to my residence by the boxful. I knelt down to thank for the rewards, my eyes looking. The emperor had drunk wine. His face was abnormally red, yet he wore an extremely joyful expression. Ves fei qiu feng. Is there anything else you desire? Without looking up, I knew what a repulsive face that was, old, ugly, and sickeningly disgusting. You are now the Jing dynasty's well-known young talent. Someone beside him spoke, their voice as warm as spring water. General Sfei, lift your head, so this consort can also see what I can reward you with. It felt like another day had dawned. My hand trembled slightly, but I still slowly lifted my head and looked at her. My legitimate sister still looked as elegant and gentle as ever, with a face like crimson rouge and lightly powdered jade skin. But having been in a high position for a long time, she possessed an indescribably noble aura. Because she was far along in her pregnancy, she was already showing. Her face was serene, and she even exuded a kind of Buddhist tranquility. She looked at me, and I looked at her. We all know how long this separation has lasted. It is a past life and this life. In just an instant, I lowered my head again. This humble subject asks for nothing else, only wishes His Majesty long life, the Empress 1,000 years, the Jing dynasty prosperity and flourishing. He is quite a smooth-talking, honest child. His Majesty was greatly pleased. Halfway through the imperial banquet, His Majesty felt unwell, so my legitimate elder sister helped him back. At this time in my previous life, His Majesty was still extremely healthy. But now he is not doing so well. I heard it is because this life he started seeking immortals, and asking for the Tao, eating all those strange elixirs, wanting to seek eternal youth or immortality. What a fool. I curved my lips, then turned around, and distributed all the bestowed gifts to my brothers under me. His Majesty will never know what Lin Shao and I were doing all the way while suppressing the rebellion. For recruiting soldiers and buying horses, and also forging iron cavalry. Everything is ready. It seems to still lack one final spark. Today, I deliberately applied less of the makeup for disguise. Others might not see through it, but how could my good father not see through it? At the imperial banquet, I raised my cup from afar to Minister Meng, who seemed lost in thought. He stared wide-eyed, as if he had seen a ghost. Waiting, how could you? I personally poured him tea in the general's residence. Father, to make a long story short, the situation in the palace is currently unstable. His Majesty is not feeling well, and my sister is about to give birth to a prince. We should also participate in the struggle for. He was startled by me, hastily tried to come up and cover my mouth, but was frozen in place by my gaze. Sister has already seen the imperial physician. What is in her belly is undoubtedly a boy, I said slowly and deliberately. I know you have an agreement with the first prince, but whether it is your own grandson becoming the crown prince that helps the Meng family more, or the first prince becoming the crown prince that helps the Meng family more, I think you have considerations in your heart. You're really crazy, he said exasperatedly. Do you know you are now committing a crime of deceiving the emperor? And you dare to presumptuously discuss matters of the Eastern Palace. But I saw his eyes flicker. He clearly had a thought. I didn't say much, just dropped the last bombshell. His Majesty intends for the Empress's son to be the crown prince. and the first prince has already secretly recruited soldiers and horses, having thoughts of rebellion. If father comes forward to testify, that would be a merit of backing the new emperor, enough to let father be ranked among the 3 dukes, and the Meng family to advance further. Boom. A storm was coming, with lightning and thunder outside the window. I clearly saw the madness and greed growing in his eyes. Like a giant beast lurked. This is human nature. I was not surprised. His Majesty's health was getting worse and worse. It was said that all the memorials these days were being approved by the Empress on his behalf. He stayed in Consort Zhao's palace day after day, either seeking immortals and asking about the Tao, or going to the star-picking platform to cultivate. Although the ministers were anxious, the Empress handled state affairs in an orderly manner, which brought them some comfort. I returned to the Lin family. How exactly are you planning this? General Lin said with a complicated expression. I originally thought you wanted to use your own capabilities to get your sister out, feigning death, leaving the palace for blessings, escaping. There are too many ways to make a person disappear, but judging by my sisters and my movements, we clearly don't have such a plan. I didn't answer. Little uncle should know. Lin Shao watched me raise private soldiers, watched me forge armor, watched me allow treasonous rumors to spread among the troops. Every single one of these was a capital crime. Yet he still accompanied me to do it. Even if I didn't tell him, he could still guess. But this, General Lin sighed heavily. Chonga is a woman. Why can't eldest sister do it? My eyes were burning. You also agreed to let Madam go to the battlefield. You see Madam as your pride, which shows you don't look down on women. Madam is skilled in both strategy and martial arts, and eldest sister surpasses her mentor. See, eldest sister is doing very well, isn't she? Why can't eldest sister do it? He fell silent. As long as Lin Shijun is mentioned, everyone in the Lin family falls silent. I turned to look, and Lin Shao was already in tears. Father, King Qi is dead, he said. I knew he couldn't live on long ago. He couldn't live on since the year Shijun passed away. The Lin family was at its peak then, for the sake of so-called imperial favor. So what about Sitting and Sikuang now? The children have worked this hard. Why can't we lend them a hand? After a long silence, General Lin bent down and helped me up. In his palm was a tiger tally. From now on, the Lin family army will obey your command, he said in a deep voice. Torrential rain had been pouring for days, and the Queen's due date finally arrived. That night, the common people slept peacefully in their homes, but 100,000 elite soldiers had surrounded the capital so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass. Those in the know had their gates tightly shut. Some loyal officials frowned deeply, and after a long sigh, still chose to stand by with folded arms. Dark cavalry pressed upon the city. The imperial palace erupted in a bloody massacre. The capital's sky had changed, not until all imperial palace guards were gone, and the emperor's close attendants were decapitated, was the pale-faced emperor jolted awake from his sleep, his lips trembling as he sat on the golden throne, pointing at my nose and furiously cursing. Traitor! Are you trying to rebel? I showed no change in expression, and with a wave of my hand, the first prince and Minister Meng, who were tied up with 5 flower knots, were thrown to the ground. A stack of secret letters scattered across the floor, all bearing their private seals. I said, Your Majesty, the first prince and Minister Meng conspired to rebel. The evidence is conclusive. Your servant was late in coming to your rescue, and had no choice but to break into the palace with a sword. I hope your Majesty will forgive me. Upon hearing this, Minister Meng immediately started wailing. Woo woo. I used the tip of my shoe to lift his chin. Father, do you want to say something? But you are really too stupid. Your daughter doesn't want to hear you speak. From the moment he was willing to make himself bait and pretend to cooperate with the first prince. His end was already sealed. I didn't even want to look at him. And pierced his heart with a sword. An insignificant cannon fodder, that is all. It is just that. In the previous life, you're a woman, the Emperor shrieked, and then quickly reacted. What is your relationship with the Empress? The Lin family, and the Lin family. Is the Lin family attempting rebellion? That is right, Your Majesty, I said with a smile. Your humble servant heard that Your Majesty intends to establish the Empress's youngest legitimate son as the Crown Prince. So I risked coming here to retrieve the imperial edict. Rain dripped down, flowing from my chin onto my armor. I drew my sword. Your Majesty, will you write the imperial edict yourself? Or does your humble servant need to help you write it? Guards, help! Guards, help! The frantic emperor grabbed concubine Zhao beside him, intending to run, but concubine Zhao neatly broke free from his grip, threw him down hard, bound him to the chair, then retreated behind me, bowing respectfully. Miss Ting, concubine Zhao said, Her Ladyship ordered me to protect your safety. I asked, How is Her Ladyship? Everything is already prepared. Mother and child are safe, concubine Zhao said, not changing her expression. The emperor was still screaming miserably, but I was already impatient. I stepped forward, chopped off one of his fingers, and forced him to write an imperial edict. He shakily wrote the characters, already scared out of his wits. I scrutinized this aging, muddle-headed emperor. Your Majesty, once upon a time, you were my nightmare. After the imperial edict was written, I looked down at him. But I still want to say, if it weren't for my wish to die, I could have killed you back then, and gotten away unscathed. He looked bewildered, not knowing what I meant, but I had already turned and the first ray of morning sun streamed into the imperial city. The torrential rain had stopped. The funeral bell rang. The sound of a baby crying also rang out. His Majesty has passed away. Everything was over. Overnight, the first prince conspired with Minister Meng to rebel. Luckily, the Empress had noticed early on and putting righteousness above family ties, found the evidence. General Si arrived in time to rescue the Emperor, and along with General Lin, guarded the imperial city, only then quelling a disturbance. The traitors died on the spot, and His Majesty, already old, was angered to death. The Empress gave birth to a prince that night, who was, according to the imperial edict, named Crown Prince. The country could not be without a monarch for a day. The Crown Prince ascended the throne. Because he was too young, all officials favored the Empress Dowager to assist in governing. The Empress Dowager could not refuse, and as it was the will of the people, she governed from behind a screen. During her reign, the Empress Dowager reduced taxes, exempted core facey labor, opened imperial examinations, and promoted young officials, leading to the prosperity of the Jing dynasty. General Sijun's identity was exposed. She was originally a woman disguised as a man, but because of her outstanding military achievements, the Empress Dowager was magnanimous, pardoned her crimes, and she became a role model for women throughout the land, praised by everyone. It was spring again. I came to say goodbye to my elder sister. Sister, I want to go to the South Sea and take a look, I said. Please allow me, sister. At that time, my legitimate elder sister was holding the little crown prince, and hearing this, she looked at me. Back then, she had a false pregnancy, and this child was also an adopted orphan, whom she had kept by her side and educated since he was young. We named him Sijun. Sijun, with his round eyes wide open, tugged at my sleeve and indistinctly called out to me, "Auntie." I quickly hugged him. Hey. This child's eyebrows and eyes looked somewhat like Madam's, and the small red mole on his wrist was exactly the same. My legitimate elder sister sighed. I knew you wanted to go on this trip, and I couldn't stop you. I was just waiting for you to tell me. I remained silent. Madam was buried in the Meng family's ancestral grave, but I didn't think she'd be happy there, so I wanted to take her and Yingqi to the seaside together. One was buried in the desert north, the other in the capital, but I thought their spirits would rather return to the South Sea, free and unconstrained. All right, just go. I don't have the leisure. But you're different. You can travel around. She looked at me gently. When Sejun grows up, we'll take grandfather back to the South Sea to live, and see the place where mother grew up. I grinned. Before leaving the capital, my legitimate elder sister saw me off. She asked me a ting. I never asked. I was stunned. Then I counter-asked, older sister, does it hurt you? She then smiled, tears in the corners of her eyes. Yes. It hurts. It hurts a lot. I was forced to kill myself. Before I died I was thinking, how sad my sister must be. And later, my soul watched you enter the palace, watched you force yourself to do things you didn't like, watched you drag that beast into the sea of fire. Your martial arts were so good, you could have gotten out, but you didn't. My heart hurt so much during that time I prayed to Buddha every day. I said I hoped a Ting wouldn't have to endure such a painful life again. Later I came back, and I thought, this time I must protect you, protect myself, protect the Lin family. I want to, but I didn't expect, you came back too. You entered the military camp. You killed countless enemies. Uncle said you suffered many injuries, but I couldn't see them. I said earnest, older sister. But I am very happy in this life. I can finally help you. A Ting is willing to be older sister's sword for life, to be your hounds and fierce tigers, to be your invincible blade. She suddenly reached out and hugged me tightly. But I only want a Ting to be my sister. None of these are needed. I smiled again. Then I'll be older sister's sister for life. The road out of the city was lush with greenery. The sky was clear, the air fresh, and the gentle breeze was pleasant. I rode alone, my prized steed beneath me, its 4 hooves treading lightly, as if on snow. It was very understanding, occasionally turning its head to glance at the travel bag on my back. I patted its head. It is all right. It won't get lost. The things in the travel bag were also very simple. 2 small boxes, a cloak, a jade pendant, and a sword. I am going to escort that girl in red and that never unruly boy back home. On a spring outing, apricot blossoms blew all over my head. I miss Chong, I miss Ting, and I miss you.